From WBBZ-TV Sports, it's time to beat the champ. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Peck and Sue Novoitsky.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Paul Peck, along with Hall of Fame bowler Sue Novoitsky, and welcome to this special edition of Beat the Champ. We have had a lot of fun over the last 5 years, taking this sport to another level, seeing all the outstanding bowlers in Western New York, and seeing the reaction from the bowling community has been great as well.
Absolutely. There's so many great bowlers in this community that don't do this for a living, but still come out here and perform on the weekends as if they do it for a living. And, and as far as the community goes, I get so much input from everyone, and we have seen so many great matches throughout the years that it's fun to actually look back and see a couple of them from time to time.
All right, so here we go. It's the best of Beat the Champ. So we get started with our number one seeds, Dana and Braden Smith, taking on Jason and Natalie Dorada. Very confusing on the quadruple handshakes there, but we got them done and we got them out of the way, and we are ready for bowling in our adult junior championship here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center. So there is a handicap involved as well too, so explain that as we wait for the Smiths to get us started here.
Yep, so in this case, with their averages, one team was getting 68 pins, and that would have been Jason and Natalie were getting 68 pins, and Dana and Braden qualified with 53 pins of handicap, so we just subtracted that out and gave the 15 to Jason and Natalie.
So on the first entry that Janelle Sabin will put on the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard, Jason and Natalie will reflect the added 15 pins.
Yes.
So you can keep track of everything as Janelle does as well too. So so again, as you've explained the format, we're going to rotate in the Baker style here.
Right, which is in essence going to leave the players on the same lanes, because the leadoff bowler bowls 1-3, frames 1-3, 5-7. It's going to leave them on the same lane. So we'll see Braden for the entire game on lane 39. He drew the short
stuck
stick.
on the, oh, he sure did. Dad pulled a little bit of power play on that one.
But honestly, there was
But he got a nice spare to get things going.
He did. There was
so.
probably a little bit of a strategy there, depending on how the average of the adult, because the adult might have been better equipped to handle lane 39.
And this is Natalie Dorada with a nice start to the match for her. This is fun. Obviously, in this case, we have father-son, father-daughter. That's pretty neat. And so much of what you talk about and what we've learned about the sport of bowling, it is one of the ultimate sports that can be passed down from one generation to another.
Right, and you're right. It's something you can do with your dad and something to talk about. And we've seen that here a lot. They've done the adult junior a lot here at Tonawanda. And we've seen some great bowlers, and I know that we just attended the junior banquet for the Proprietors Association, and
Which was a great event, by the way.
They did, and it was a full house, really. So, junior bowling is alive and well in this area, but some of the bowlers that we saw here on the show they're getting awards a couple years later. They've all developed into really good bowlers, and they're moving on to the men's leagues now.
Yeah, and you know what else happened from when you and I attended the junior bowling awards banquet is we've been doing this now long enough, you certainly way longer than I have, that some of those junior bowlers are starting to make their way onto the regular show and are pretty close to being able to be good enough. Mike Weber in particular,
and, Ryan Reese. We won't be long until we see Ryan Reese on this show.
Oh yeah, they are some bright up-and-coming bowlers who are not necessarily young. But hey, last week we just had a 20-year-old in Jeremy Becker advance on to next week's show. So it doesn't matter about the age. That really has very little to do with it. It's just how good you are at this sport. And here we have an opportunity to showcase a couple of fine young bowlers in 13-year-old Braden Smith and 14-year-old Natalie Dorada. Meanwhile, it is 42-year-old Jason Dorada trying to finish off a spare here in the second frame for Team Dorada. And he gets it.
This feels like a good time to take a short break. We'll be right back with more action on Beat the Champ.
Instant replay on Beat the Champ is brought to you by Transit Lanes and Keglers. Join us for bowling, food, and drinks.
Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
not a bad job of figuring it out there from Braden.
Even for Braden, he's going to have to move his feet right and give that ball a little bit more room. He's still a little too straight up. And, you know, I guess at this point you're just going to try to hit a target because that angle's not going to be comfortable for them, but you still have to, like, look at your target and just hit it and then trust the ball will come back.
Braden bowls on the high school bowling team at Forestville High School, where he attends school, as I mentioned. Also bowls in a Saturday morning league at Lucky Lanes in Fredonia. And that's a nice spare pickup in the 7th frame for Team Smith. They are the #1 seeds coming into this. The Doradas are the #4 seed. Whoever wins this match advances to our championship game. And then our next match will be our 2 and 3 seeds. And we'll fill you in on the details on them when we get there. But you got a good look there at Natalie Dorada. See what Natalie can do here.
Another good shot.
Perfect.
Wow.
First strike of the match for Team Dorada belongs to Natalie. Let's see if Dana can match that in the 8th frame. Way right, hook back, and a strike.
Well, he's trying to open it up, but he switched balls. I think he maybe should have stayed with the other ball. This ball is even more aggressive. But he's got the right idea. He's going to have to just get his feet a little bit deeper, but it's on the right track.
Yep, there's the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard. Janelle Saban has already put that 15-pin advantage in for Team Dorada, so that is reflected in the scores that you see there. Here's Jason Dorada. Oh, I was about to say the strikes are starting to fall, but off a lot of wobble on the 10-pin, Jason can't get it to go. Let's see if he can match the prowess of his daughter with the 1-pin spare. He certainly can. So now we move to the 9th frame, and it's Braden Smith's last chance to add some more pins for Team Smith and see if they can advance to the championship match of our Tonawanda Bowling Center Adult Junior Showdown.
Wow, what a great shot.
Wow, that was a great shot. You could see Braden wanted that one bad.
It was huge. That was for a double, and what a great shot.
Wanted it bad. Oh, see, even at a young age, you learn the bowling gods can be cruel sometimes.
Yeah.
He looked briefly to the sky and said, "Why didn't you bring that one down for me?" Boy, I'll tell you what, the spare game has been outstanding for everybody here.
Hey, the kids have done great.
All right, so 9th frame now for Natalie in what remains a pretty tight match.
The problem's in the 5th frame.
Boy, I'll tell you what, Natalie has really got it going. Yep. Really got it going. Maybe she's been watching YouTube clips of you and Liz Johnson, huh?
Very funny.
Just do a little YouTube search and you might be able to figure that out, so. All right, so another single pin spare challenge here for Natalie. Looks good, just wouldn't kind of hang on the edge that time.
5th frame.
All right, so now 10th frame. Can Dana Smith finish it out strong?
Yeah, add it up again.
And would that be enough to put Team Smith into our championship match? That one pin kind of slid between the two of them and didn't knock either of them down.
Hooking up high.
Yep. So he'll have the 6-10 to try to pull off the spare here, and then the fill ball to set up a final score. We've had a fun month here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center. We had really interesting bowling, had a nice run from Kevin Volker, and then Mike Zarcone was able to beat him, and then a nice little run by Ryan Moreau, and then Jeremy Becker was able to beat him. It's been good bowling here all month long.
And it's our 4th seed, Jason and Natalie, are going to defeat the 1st seed. They've already exceeded their score even without their pins, so they didn't even need their 15 pins in this match.
Gotcha. So it's Team Dorada that's going to advance on to our championship game. Who are they going to face? We'll find out in our next match. So we're off to a good start here in our Tonawanda Bowling Center Adult Junior Showdown. Good match to get things started. Some impressive bowling, particularly by the youngsters.
Yep.
And we're going to see a little more of this gentleman, Jason Dorada, and his daughter Natalie. They will move on. We'll check in with the Smiths and get you ready for match number 2 when Sue and I return to the Tonawanda Bowling Center. More right after this. Team Dorada with a victory over Team Smith to advance on in here in our Adult Junior Championship. Braden, first chance to get a little bowling here on TV. I know you're a fan of the show. What'd you think of the whole experience?
It was quite different, but it was fun to finally try to compete for the championship.
What do you like about this sport?
Just the fun of it and kind of being it one of the only independent sports where you have to rely on yourself more other than teammates. So,
yeah, good stuff. All right, well, you get to hold the trophy there. Dad, what was it about this sport that you liked that you wanted to make sure you got your son involved?
Kind of the same thing. It's an independent sport. And we started in Germany playing, and it's been playing ever since. So.
We were really hoping that you might throw 300 here today so the long Smith family 297 nightmare could come to an end. Now, we were able to tell that story. It's a pretty good story, isn't it?
Yeah.
It might have been painful at the time, right?
Very, very painful. I pick on about it here and there.
Yeah, does he not let you hear the end of it?
No, he doesn't.
I guess that's kind of what dads are supposed to do, right, Braden? So, all right, hey, good to get you guys on the show. Have fun down there bowling this summer and into your school leagues, and you too, and hopefully we'll see you guys again.
Thank you.
Good stuff by Team Smith. We got our match number 2. It's coming up next on Beat the Champ. Match number 2, our second-seeded team of Josh Shoemaker and Trevor Johnson against Mike and Mark D'Amico. And the winner of this match will advance on to take on the Doradas for our Adult Junior Championship here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center. We'll continue with our Baker format. Update us on the handicap numbers.
Right, so with the team of Josh and Trevor have 4 pins of handicap, and the team of Mike and Mark have 38. So the difference between that is 34. So you'll see Mike and Mark getting 34 pins of handicap.
Gotcha. So right off the bat, they've got a little sizable lead that Trevor and Josh will have to overcome. So here's Trevor Johnson to get us started on match number 2. And how about that for a way to get us started for the 18-year-old from Rochester, Trevor Johnson.
Yeah, they're sneaking in under this adult junior thing because Trevor's 18 with a 210 average, and Josh is 22.
Josh did a little scouting maybe on all this?
227.
All right, on the flip side, here's Mark D'Amico. Mark is 14 years old, an 8th grader at LaSalle Prep, and from both of them, both dad and son are from Niagara Falls, so let's see how he'll do here on picking up the spare. And again, they've got that sizable advantage on the handicap, so can they just hold half that advantage? They'll be all right. Shoot, all I gotta do is hold 1 pin of that advantage. All right, so good start for both teams. So now, As we're trying to figure out who goes up next, it's going to be Mike D'Amico.
Right.
That will move over to the left side.
It's a little bit of a different format here
Yeah,
with
it
this
takes
speaker.
a little bit of getting used to. I get it. There's a lot of directing and pointing, and need like a traffic cop standing at the end of the lanes just directing everyone. Orange cones. So here's the 51-year-old from Niagara Falls, Mike D'Amico.
Ooh, nice shot.
He's a regular bowler at the Rapids Bowling Center in their Thursday night league.
So they have 53 in the first with their 34 pins of handicap and 19 pins of score. So they do start off with like a 3-mark advantage technically with 34 pins.
That's true. You saw Janelle in the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard. Remember, she's got the handicap already worked into the score, and Mike just slides it past the spare there.
Well, everybody has the same thing. They're not prepared for this cross lane. You know, when they're practicing, they're practicing for strikes. They're not practicing to realize that when they shoot a cross lane spare, it's going to take off on them.
Yeah, they're not prepared for what the oil has been beaten up on this on this pair of lanes.
Yeah.
Josh Shoemaker, 22 years old, from Rochester, New York. He's a student at Buff State, mechanical engineering student over there. 227 average. Terrific bowler in his own. Bowls regularly on transit lanes in their Tuesday night league. And he's a guy that we have actually seen on our regular Beat the Champ show. Did that at Island Lanes last year. One match, wasn't able to win it, but good enough to have qualified for the show. And that's our first two-hander we've had in a month.
That's what I was looking. I was checking it out. I was pretty sure he had no thumb in the ball.
Yeah, we went through a whole 10 bowlers in our regular competition during the first 3 shows without having any two-handers, and leave it to Josh to be the first guy that pops up with both hands on the ball like that. So Trevor Johnson, who got off to a nice start with a strike in his first frame, will take over here in frame number 3. Wow.
He's got a lot of power, high rev rate guy.
Yes, he does. That's 18 miles per hour down the lanes there for the 18-year-old from Rochester, full-time student.
A lot of revolutions on that ball.
And now back to Mark. You see what their qualifying score was. They were the 4th qualifying team. And that's a nice strike from Mark D'Amico.
Nice job.
So we're at that time of the year now as we hit mid-July when things quiet down. Not a lot of leagues going other than a few here and there, and most of the bowling centers limited hours. If you're a young bowler, or if you're not a young bowler, you're a regular bowler, and you want to sort of keep the skill set going a little bit, what to do this time of the year? What's the best approach?
Well,
you're so used to being in the fall and the winter where you're bowling once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, however much you're normally bowling. How do you keep it going now?
Well, this is actually the time where you're going to make improvements on your game because it's very difficult to do while you're in the spirit of competition. You don't want to give up pins. You don't want to come to league and like all of a sudden be 10, 20 pins worse than you were. So you tend not to make significant changes or learn new things during the course of the bowling season. This is when you do it. So you can go to the Coburn Clinic, which Cindy is coaching now. I think Doris isn't doing it anymore, but Cindy has people helping her. So the Coburn Clinic is going on Tuesday nights, I believe, at Manor 2. You'd have to call Manor 2 to find out. But there you could get some really inexpensive coaching, or you find someone who is a coach, you know, Jack, Sue Jesuit. So there's people out there that coach, and get your changes in now. And they'll set up another nice shot. They'll set up the place and the time for you. You don't have to worry about finding lane availability. That's one thing now too, is there's, even though the hours aren't quite as much all over the city, there's tons of lane availability. So now is the time to raise that average 10 pins one way or the other. And somebody will guide you and help you to do that. So actually, this is the practice time, not when the season has started.
I think I asked you the question just more along the lines of how do you sort of keep your skills going, but I see your point is now's the time that you keep your skills going.
This looks like a good time to take a break. We'll be back with more Beat the Champ right after this. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. So it's a 30-pin advantage to Mike and Mark at this point, but they do have an open.
Boy, Trevor has struck in 3 of his 4 frames here. So
yeah.
Trevor doing a really nice job. Bowls a lot throughout Buffalo and Rochester. He's at an 800 series already, so very impressive, and getting good stuff from him today. We're getting good stuff like that from Mark D'Amico as well.
Absolutely.
How about Mark's had 3 strikes already here?
Yeah, he's
both guys, both of our junior bowlers in this game have been outstanding.
I'll tell you, if anybody's noticed from the first show to this show, he's got a little bit of that release similar to Kevin Volker, or that little bit in the front that he gets that spin through the front that doesn't make the ball read too early, and it reminds me a little bit of what we saw with Kevin. That was a good shot by Dad.
Yeah. Mike's been a little snake bit here. He can't quite seem to get all of them down when
that's because they stuck him on 39.
Yeah, well, that's true, yeah. I wonder whose decision that was. So remember, the winner of this match will take on Jason and Natalie Dorada for our championship. That'll be coming up next. And don't forget, after this show, next week, we move to Alley Brandt Lanes in Lockport for a whole new series of 3 weeks of competition, which we know at this point in time that Jeremy Becker will be our carryover champion from here at Tonawanda, so he'll be in that first match next week against a whole new group of qualifiers.
Okay, so this has really changed the nature of this match, because at one point, Mike and Mark were up 30, and now with Trevor posting up that strike, he'd cut the lead to 19, and now a strike here could put them pretty close to being in front. So we could have a big lead swap here.
All right, so Josh Shoemaker in frame 8. Got it.
Big shot.
Nicely done by Josh Shoemaker, and now he turns it back over to Trevor Johnson.
Strike here puts them 10 plus in the lead.
And remember, they're coming from that 34-pin handicapped disadvantage, for lack of a better word. Trevor's had 6 career 300 games, 2 Western New York titles, 4-time high school MVP, 2 junior bowling titles, 1 youth bowling title. This is a name for all of us to keep an eye out for. And just remember the guy with the patriotic flag socks. Yep. Didn't quite hit where he wanted it to.
Right, now that one, he didn't get to his break point, bit up a little early.
That was over 18 miles per hour, that roll.
Big spare here, though. This spare here keeps it dead even.
3-6-10 clothesline, staring down Trevor Johnson. Wow. Boy, he threw that hard.
He did.
But he got what he wanted to.
Okay. We're even up 175 each in the 8th frame. Big, important 9-10 frames here for everybody. Now, Josh and Trevor already have a spare up, so Mike and Mark actually have an opportunity to jump ahead with a double.
Mark's turn. Strike.
This kid has been razor.
Terrific. Mark D'Amico, 14 years old, from LaSalle Prep in Niagara Falls. Bowls in the youth league at the Rapids Bowling Center on Saturdays. Bowls on the high school bowling team. Made it as an 8th grader, did Mark. And he was the Rookie of the Year that year. So now 10th frame for Dad on lane 39. Got the Mike Zarcone, throw it halfway down the lanes, bang for you every time Dad throws it.
I'm sure Dad's feeling pretty bad right now.
Yeah,
he wants to do better.
Yeah, that was a chance to put it away a little bit.
Yeah, that lane's tough. That lane's tough, and you know, if you haven't thrown any balls on it, you don't know.
All right, let's see what Mike can do with this one. This is not going to be easy. Yeah, got 2 of the pins. So final score posted on the board for Team D'Amico of 203. Thank you to you and Janelle. I'm looking as Janelle was writing it. You were saying it. All right, so now Josh Shoemaker.
Needs a mark.
Needs a mark. Gets the strike, and that will send Team Shoemaker and Johnson off to our championship match. So another good match here, some terrific bowling, maybe even more terrific by the juniors than it was the adults in this case, but more impressive bowling. So we are all set for our championship match. It'll be Team Dorada versus Team Shoemaker and Johnson. We'll catch up with the D'Amicos and get you ready for our championship match when Sue and I return to Tonawanda. More of Beat the Champ right after this. Team D'Amico comes up a little short. 215 to 203 are our final scores. Mark, I think you had a strike on every one of your frames except for one. Will you tell Dad to step up his game a little bit?
Make her spares.
What is it about this sport that you enjoy doing so much, aside from having a chance to hang out with Dad?
I just love bowling and just like getting strikes.
How proud are you to see him and, as you mentioned, his brother sort of warm up to the game like you have?
They do. They've come a long way. I've taught them, and now it shows here tonight that they can outdo me.
Yeah, so you taught them so well that they're now better than you, or at least maybe they think they are. Well, a good showing by you guys. I know we'll get you back at one of these down the road, but we are headed towards our championship match. It's coming up next on Beat the Champ. So here we go with our championship match at the Tonawanda Bowling Center Adult Junior Showdown. It is Josh Shoemaker and Trevor Johnson against Jason and Natalie Dorada. And the big key here is one heck of a handicap advantage for the Team Dorada going in right now.
Right.
Fill everybody in.
No, it's 64 pins difference. There's, again, 4 pins for Trevor and Josh, and 68 pins for Jason and Natalie, but it's based on their averages. It's all fairly done. It just seems like a lot for one game, but truthfully, within their capabilities, these two young men averaged 201 or 210 and 227, so they have a lot of capability.
So when you're facing that kind of a handicap disadvantage, although it's hard to say it's a disadvantage, it's there because of the advantages that you have, but in a match like this, you've got to figure out a way to beat that and your opponent. So does it put a little extra pressure on Trevor and Josh to make sure they're near perfect here, because they know they're going to need a lot of strikes?
Well,
That's a lot of strikes to have to overcome.
They do need to put together some strikes, and I think when you're talking 2 different people on 2 different lanes combining their scores, it's a little bit different than you yourself having to go up and throw strikes. I mean, you're relying on 2 people to throw these strikes, but they have the capability of doing it. I think what would happen is that your wraps, your ring 10s, your things that you think are a bad break will bother you more.
Yeah. Because you bowled at such a high level all of your life, handicap is probably not really a part of a lot of the bowling that you've done, is it?
Well, it's a part of the bowling I'm involved in because there's so few scratch leagues left anymore that we're almost all bowling handicap leagues, and I bowl with Mike, I bowl with Chuck, we all bowl on Wednesday nights, and we're in a handicap league, so we've come across teams that we're giving away as a team, 4-man team, 200 pins, and it's a lot, and it's really hard to overcome if you don't you strike a lot, because it's one of the discrepancies, and I'm glad I'm not on Facebook because I'm gonna get beat up for saying this, but I truthfully believe that even though we have the capability of shooting 240, 250, we still have all of these factors that fall into play, like 8 pins, 9 pins, 7 pins, 10 pins. Just because we hit the pocket doesn't mean we're going to strike.
Right.
So, like that 180 average bowler who makes their spares, all they have to do is get a double, where we have to get a 4 or 5 bagger to keep up with these handicap discrepancies. So, I understand handicap, but at the same time, I'm going to be one of the people that think that it can be excessive.
Gotcha.
Should
there
be
sort of be a
excessive.
cap on it? Should these leagues, when you set
Absolutely.
them up, know, okay, we know you're a better team than the other team, but we're going to make sure the match still matters, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you looked at how many handicap teams finished higher than the so-called scratch teams, most of the time the scratch bowlers cannot keep up with the handicaps. And
Right. Now, all that said,
but your handicap bowler will not. Why would they want to give away free pins?
Right. In our first 2 matches of the day with the handicaps in place, Team Dorada, even though they got the handicap, still won, right, based on the merit of the pins. And so did Shoemaker and Johnson teams still won despite the disadvantage there. So, again, it's a factor, but it's not. You still got to bowl well, I think, is the point we're trying to make.
Dana and I'm sorry, Jason and Natalie won scratch.
Correct.
They didn't use 1 pin of their handicap.
That's correct.
So that leads you to believe, did you need that much handicap? It just.
Good point. Very good point. So,
But
it's part of this match, obviously, as we told you about, with Team Dorada getting the bonus of being up 64-0 before we even started, and they've gone open and strike in the first 2, while Josh and Trevor have gone spare open, and here's Trevor in frame number 3. So they can't afford a lot of opens at this point.
Right. And you can't miss a spare. I mean, I'm missing a spare when you're giving up those
When
amount
you're
of
down
pins.
64
it's
pins
devastating
to
because now they're
handicap,
down 74 pins, basically, by
Yeah,
giving away
yeah.
10 of those pins.
That's a good point. So, yeah, just another part of this sport, another thing that as people that watch this show, if they aren't already at that point in their growth and knowledge and participation in the sport, are going to have to sort of learn that it becomes part of what you're doing. So,
Well, what I said is going to be very unpopular because there's way more way more bowlers receiving reasonable amounts of handicap that look at a scratch league bowlers and go, oh my God, they can shoot 300. But how many really do?
Yeah.
I mean, it's still not an easy thing to do. Wow, she has
great shot
nailed
by
the
Natalie.
pocket both times.
everybody loves you. There's no one that would think that they're unpopular, that you'd be unpopular with anyone. So, speaking of everyone loves you and everyone knows you, apparently you go quite a way back here with Natalie Dorada, don't you?
Well, yeah, her mom worked for me here when Natalie was 18 months old. And her dad has been a league bowler here from the time that I worked here. So, yes, I can't. We were talking about how time flies and these children that I saw born, such as I talked about Ryan Reese. I mean, I saw Ryan Reese born, and now he's shooting 300 on Beat the Champ.
Uh-huh.
I bowled with his mom in college. We were Buffalo State team members together. And she's coming back to bowling this year, which will be interesting. Yes, I made the announcement here.
Oh, there you go. Breaking news. Get it on Facebook right away.
All right.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun a couple of weeks back at the, we mentioned that the Bowling Proprietors of Western New York annual Youth Bowling Awards ceremony. Just seeing first off, as you already pointed out, the future of the sport is in certainly good hands. There was well over 200 people and probably well over 100 kids that won awards for their youth bowling in the 3 big youth tournaments throughout the course of the year. But just to see the sort of the joy and the pride for the kids going up to get those plaques and trophies and know that they've accomplished something, and is really cool, really special. It was a fun event to be a part of. It really was.
Well, let's give a shout out to all that scholarship money that the proprietors put out for these kids, because it's got to help, and they get to accumulate that over their junior bowling career. They can continue to accumulate money from the tournaments, from the autumn tournament, the spring tournament.
The action will continue on Beat the Champ in just a minute.
Instant replay on Beat the Champ is brought to you by Transit Lanes and Keglers. Join us for bowling, food, and drinks.
Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
So now Dad will slide over to lane 39.
Well, I think in Natalie's case, I'm going to guess, and maybe I shouldn't, but I'm going to guess that that's a pretty light bowling ball, just based on how it's
It's 12-pounder.
deflecting. Yeah, we had that conversation about the weight of the ball, and that ball's going to deflect and be tough to carry. She gets to the pocket, but it's going to be a little hard to carry pins with such a light bowling ball.
So at what point does a bowler like Natalie need to start moving up and using a heavier bowling ball?
Well, she's at the point in her game where she almost needs to, because it's going to become frustrating to just hit the pocket and leave pins all the time. It's hard to strike unless you hit it absolutely perfect.
Good spare pickup from Dad in the 6th frame. Don't forget, next week's show, after we're done crowning our adult junior TBC champion here, we're going to move up to Alley Brandt Lanes, up in Lockport. Another month worth of bowling for Beat the Champ there, including our 3 weeks of competition, where we know for a fact that it will be Jeremy Becker leading us off. Jeremy going to make the drive up from Jamestown, from the farthest end of one Beat the Champ universe to the farthest other end of it. But Jeremy will be there. Good strike for Josh Shoemaker here in the 7th. And then a whole group of new challengers will be there as well too, so we'll be bringing that to you starting with next week's show. And then a month from today, we'll have our special 4th show up at Alley Brandt, and our buddy Brian Borowski will always has something good ready to go. I think he needs to work in like half bowling, half putt-putt, because he's got a great putt-putt course there.
He does.
So let's do 5 frames of bowling and then finish it off with putt-putt, or vice versa, or
Oh, that's big right there.
Maybe you can handle the bowling, and and then I'll handle the putt-putting for someone, or we can get teammates, or.
Well, I already talked to Janelle. I think we should have a competition after taping next time. Don't make any plans.
What makes you think they won't be taping that to include at some other point down the road? So I'm up for it. I based on where my golf game is at the moment, the last thing I want to do is golf on television, but I'll give it a shot.
Maybe you should just use that putter to hit the ball down the lane like you did last time.
That might be I might have better odds that way.
Oh, by that time you'll have your game back in.
Well, it's a matter of back. There's not a whole lot of back to my game. It's just, can I get any better? So, but we'll see, and we'll have some fun at Alley Brandt, and we hope you'll be along for the ride as well, too. And don't forget,
she used a spare ball. Very good.
Always welcome to come by and watch the show in person and cheer the bowlers on. And all you got to do is go to the Facebook page, and you'll see the dates, our taping dates, because they're different than the air dates, obviously, our taping dates, and throw it on your calendar and say, hey, let's go over and catch a couple minutes. You don't have to spend all day there like we do, but you can come in and catch a match or two. And,
absolutely.
And it's a fun experience, and then maybe go out and play a little putt-putt at Alley Brandt after that. But we certainly encourage everybody in Western New York to come on out and be a part of our studio audience, our live remote audience. Good strike there by Jason Dorada. And a few more strikes like that, plus the big handicap, might be enough to get Team Dorado holding a big trophy here in a couple of minutes. See if Josh and Trevor have something to say about that, though. But we're probably at the point now where they need to be striking and striking and striking. And not ring-tenning.
That's going to hurt. See, again, that's where the handicap hurts you when you.
Yeah. There's no margin for ring 10s, right? Not when you're
Nope.
trying to
All
overcome
the other
6
team-
strikes that you're already down.
All the other team has to do is spare every other frame. That's all they need to do.
Yeah, and you don't need to be a mechanical engineering major, of which Josh is, to know that you can't have a lot of ring 10s when you're in a matchup like this.
Well, they've made up half of it. They're 38 down, and you know they still have to go off the sheet, but they can still, you know, give them a run.
What big hard backswing from Trevor. Missed the pocket a little bit, and that's why he leaves the single pin.
Yeah, as hard as he throws it, the lanes are really dry, and it's still bit up on it.
Yep. He almost needed the lanes to slow that down just a little bit to slide it over, and it didn't happen. So it's a spare in the 9th frame for Team Shoemaker Johnson. And now our last chance to get a little look at Natalie Dorada, who has been very impressive. All of our youth bowlers have been, or junior bowlers have been incredibly impressive.
Another good shot, another good shot.
How about that?
That one sat up perfect. That was an example of just hitting the pocket perfect.
How about that? Terrific strike for Natalie Dorada. That may very well be the clincher in this match.
It is the clincher,
It
yeah.
is the clincher. It is. So we've got ourselves a champion. We've got a championship team here in our Tonawanda Bowling Center Adult Junior Bowling Title Showdown. It is Team Dorada. They are going to take home the big trophy. We'll give them that trophy and talk to all of our bowlers when Sue and I and Janelle return to the Tonawanda Bowling Center here on Beat the Champ. To 184, our final score as Team Dorada takes home the hardware in our Adult Junior Championship here at Tonawanda Bowling Center. Josh and Trevor, you guys put on a pretty good show. You had the handicap to overcome. You had lane 39 to overcome. Josh, take me through this match. How much fun was it?
Oh, it was a lot of fun. I missed the 5-pin there, unfortunately, but I didn't see anyone with their hands up, so I'm not too worried about that one. But it was fun, good. Definitely will come out next year when they have it here again.
Yeah, Trevor, impressive watching you bowl. I think there's obviously a bright future for you in this sport. What is it that you like, that you enjoy so much about bowling, and where do you want to go with it?
Just like the amount of people that you can meet through the sport. I mean, even junior gold, you just go all over the place, and you get to meet tons of different people from all over the place. It's just a good experience all overall. Even this tournament, people just like somewhat locally, so.
Well, it's good. It's good to have both of you guys on. Sue?
Great adjusting on your part. You moved in, you moved your eyes to the right. It was very impressive to watch from behind. Did you pick that up in bowling high school?
Yeah, I've got to give it a lot to my coach, Mr. Kisker from Amherst, and my dad. He's really been great to help me, and I'd love to try to go for a scholarship, and it's just been a great experience.
Well, you did a great job, and you've learned it, I can tell. And of course, we go way back. I know that I've known you for years, and she was just a little baby. And now she's a grown-up girl, and very nice job. And still watching you throw it exactly the same as you did 20 years ago. That's impressive. So, you know, did she learn a lot from you?
No, it was all her coach.
That's awesome.
And all that. I mean, I'm here to support her all the time, but she won this for us today. She won this for us.
Well, tell Mike that it's time for a 14-pound ball for her. She'll carry more.
Yeah. Ready to go to Disney World? So, yeah.
Okay, nice job.
It's on TV, Dad, so you better hold to that promise. So it's Team Dorada. They're our champions here. Myself, Sue, and Janelle will come back and wrap up a terrific month at the Tonawanda Bowling Center right after this. Well, that was fun. Did you guys have fun? I had fun. And I think the thing that was the most fun about this show was seeing just the next generation of bowlers. This sport's in pretty good hands, particularly here in Western New York.
I know, I just love it. You know, you always feel bad at first when you see that they're going to be on the tougher lane condition and the dried up lane condition, and then you see how they come through it, and that makes me even more impressed, because I'm really impressed by the adjustments they made and how well they bowled.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So were the 3 weeks of competition leading up to this week. Lots of ups and downs, some wins, some streaks, some upsets. Let's hope that continues at Allie Brandt next week.
Yeah, and I'm sure it will, because I know a bunch of bowlers are going to come out to qualify, so we're just going to have to see what happens next week.
Young bowler Jeremy Becker, who was very impressive, will be our champion who advances into next week's show against a whole new group of bowlers. We'll see how it all shakes out. We're going to have fun in Lockport over the next month. Hope you join us there to have some fun with us, too. We thank you for our month-long stay at the Tonawanda Bowling Center. We'll see you in Lockport next week on Beat the Champ.